Hello, this is Ascended Master Jihoody speaking, also known as Thoth, Saint Germain, Merlin, but of course, most of you would have had an introduction to me as Hermes. Why do I speak through this channel using the name Djehuty? You may have come across this explanation over the several years. You may have been aware of this channel's work since he's been channeling me for about the last 10 years. The Djehuty, spelled D-J-E-H-U-T-Y. This is an ancient Khem name, or Khem. Far removed in time, you might say ancient Khem, and you might say ancient Egyptian, though this is a bit erroneous. The Khem civilization, or the Kemetic people, referred to me as Djehuty. As I mentioned, I have gone by Hermes and many other names. And as an Ascended Master, I have lived various lifetimes as a human. When I am human, I'm doing things that humans do. When I'm not human, I am advising, I'm helping, I'm offering you input into how you may evolve. And so, as it may seem like I've decided I'm going to talk about myself, that is not accurate, because I want you to get the full explanation of why I use that name when I speak through this channel, given these other names, most of which are more well-known, all of which are more well-known. If this channel were to say, oh, I channel Hermes, well, that would reach a lot of people. That would make sense to quite a lot of people. When he first started channeling me, he did say, oh, this being is Thoth, Toth. Oh, and you know, Saint Germain, also the same being, and occasionally mentioning Merlin. But what I want to be clear about is, the reason that I use this Djehuty, this Khem name, and by the way, if you want to look up about this culture, it is spelled in English K-H-E-M, Khem, or Kemetic, K-H-E-M-E-T-I-C. The priests in that culture are holders of a body of knowledge. I use this name because I want you to understand that you are capable of carrying a body of knowledge, which is a higher level of consciousness. What in fact I am is a collection of data. The channel used to conceive of me as an individual. The channel will still say, oh, well, Jihoody would say this, as if I am a unique individual, when in fact I'm essentially a structure of consciousness which can be thought of as a data bank that can be drawn upon. So using the name Hermes or Thoth, or Saint Germain even, or Merlin, would bring connotations to whoever hears that name of whatever they came in with. With this teaching, I want you to understand that this is a pointer. Eventually, somebody's going to look up that name Djehuty and find out this link to the Khem or ancient Khem civilization. So this channel has spent a great deal of time and energy and effort finding this data bank that is this level of consciousness that I refer to as myself, Jihoody, etc. That you and the channel will refer to as if a discrete individual. So in the beginning, it seemed as if this was a person talking because there was a narrative. Now the channel has been able to ask questions at various times and then tap into the answer. The answer is already existing, which is how, as he channeled 6 books up to this point, how sometimes he might channel part of a later section first and then fill in the gaps and type something beforehand. He can feel, as he tunes into the level of consciousness that is Jihoody, Hermes, Thoth, Saint Germain, Merlin, et al. He can feel if this paragraph or this thought, this part of the teaching, comes now or needs to be saved for later or inserted earlier. And so what I want to be clear about is, as you are a human, you can access higher levels of consciousness. Working with the channel, working with the channel as working with me, does not mean that you will become just like him. But I want you to understand that you as a human have access to higher levels of awareness, different levels of consciousness. Some of you may identify as channels or mediums, some of you may not. This is no matter. It is not an issue. But I want you to understand that your human egoic self exists as one level of awareness. And you have others. You've heard the channel harp endlessly. You've heard me share with you during lunation meditations the importance of being grounded. We all stand by this. The deeper you go, the higher you can expand your consciousness into other, so to speak, realms. So you don't have to formally be a channel and call yourself that. But as your human self, in an arc of development, can reach higher levels of consciousness, I encourage you to do everything you can to work that grounding process so that you can expand upward and connect with higher levels of truth. So saying that my name is Djehuty, as opposed to these other names, is a way of inspiring this channel to teach people, which he has at times, and will do so more later, that everybody can channel. But that doesn't mean everybody needs to devote their lives to channeling. It doesn't mean everybody needs to go into business doing channeling. This is not the point. But every single human has the capacity to reach higher levels of conscious awareness. In other words, this is really the core of the message. Your human self can become so grounded through your conscious, intentional grounding work so that you can expand your ability to hold higher consciousness. You may have heard us reference, the channel would say what Jihoody might call the container of consciousness. The container of consciousness. And in a sense, it is your body as it holds your consciousness. So it is not just your body, but it is not your consciousness. It is how your consciousness is resting within, is inhabiting, is filling your body. My argument, my teaching is that you cannot truly expand in healthy, good ways up into upper chakras without going down below to lower chakras. This is why I spend so much time asking you to deal with your lower three chakras, so they are a solid foundation upon which the other four can open. And then as all seven are open, or are being addressed, or energy is moving through them, or you are consciously working with any issues that may come up in a more fluid way, so that you are not consistently blocked, then you are increasing the strength, and I would say the shape and durability of the container of your consciousness. How you experience your body is everything here. Well, how you experience your body is integral to this process. What you do and don't eat, how you do and don't move, including moving energy and dealing with emotions, thoughts, beliefs, and attitudes, endeavoring to meet all aspects of yourself with an intentionally chosen state of compassionate awareness. To listen to all these parts of you as they say, I don't want to change, I don't want to grow, I don't want to give up that habit or that thing. Some parts of you are attached to certain ways of beings and behaviors and attitudes. We understand this. What I like to do in general is to challenge a human to do whatever it takes to be able to connect with higher levels of consciousness. Much of my time through this channel and elsewhere has been and is spent working on teaching therapeutic or evolutionary principles so that you may balance this, heal that, shed that, step into a new, better way of being yourself. Or a lot of time also spent teaching you how to trust yourself once you know yourself. So a lot of encouragement to do shadow work, tools for the Plutonian kind of level of healing and evolution that this channel often teaches. A lot of our time together, the channel and myself, coming through to you and other people coming into the sphere of the channel, in other words, is spent on attempting to fix the past or clean up the messes in the aisles of your conscious, subconscious, unconscious selves. Oh, somebody dropped a jar of this. The glass shattered. Here's a mess. Yes, right. Let's go back to when you were 5 years old and this thing hurt you. Oh, something else happened. Something fell off a shelf on aisle 7. Yes. Let's talk about that abusive situation. Let's figure out whatever it is that we can do to help you come to a point of transformative empowerment by, among other things, changing your mind about what it meant so that you can shed an old belief, etc. You've worked with the channel here, all these different tools. But the main point of my commitment to working with humans, which is my job description, is to help you evolve no matter what you need. And the end game, or the end goal, is that you strengthen through these therapeutic means, these grounding processes, etc., bringing compassion to shadows and etc., so that you can become connected to your guidance team and perhaps of beings such as myself or perhaps myself, but so that the container of your consciousness is solid, is broadening over time, is being cleared out intentionally, is experiencing compassion filling it, so that you may inhabit, connect, channel perhaps, but bring down and tether in 3D a higher level of truth. And so as I say, this is my goal for humans. No matter where you are in such a process, I'm available to answer questions for you. Essentially, my job description is to be there to answer any questions, no matter what you need to evolve. No matter what motivates you, no matter where you are in a given process, no matter what you need to face that shadow, no matter what information or perspective or tools you need to face that pain, to learn as an individual how to become empowered in the face of that pain or that trauma or that shadow. How can you do that? And so I work with you individually, and I help you in whatever way you need. Yet, in this message today, I want you to be clear that while this continues, as long as you need my help, I will answer your questions. Yet I want you to have in mind the end goal, which is that you hold yourself and all aspects of yourself and all choices you have made in the past and all choices you are making in the present in the empowered space of compassionate self-acceptance, so that you always frame your idea of yourself as headed toward a deepening sense of empowerment. So, please ask me questions. Please, let us know, let the channel, let myself know where you are in your development and what hurts and what you might be angry about, what you can't yet seem to figure out how to let go of and move beyond, what persistent dream or pain or fear. But I want you to realize that as these attachments to energies and emotions and behaviors may persist, I want you to understand where you're headed. The longer that you engage with a being such as myself, the more surely you are headed toward your own evolution. But please be patient with yourself, as the process may at times be arduous and frankly rather annoying, as you realize, yeah, I just can't get over that thing. I just can't let that go. Let this be okay. And so another way to look at why I would use the name Djehuty working through this channel is so that you no longer see yourself as just a person or merely a human. I want you to see yourself as a project of unfolding consciousness, a portion of the divine self that is headed for, inevitably, the evolution of consciousness to higher and higher planes, from grounded, clear, rooted, intentional spaces or stances, from grounded places. And so the more grounded you become, the more the container of your consciousness is expanded and strengthened. The more then you can handle the waves of shadow energy, emotional pain or trauma that may come up within you at different times, or that may persist over time, the better able you are to function, even though a wave of a very difficult energy has come up. The more easily you are able to dispatch it. And what I'm saying is, the more easily you remember your divine nature, the sense of connectedness, so that you may develop faith that you are not merely human, subject to these waves of pain and grief and anger or whatever, but you are in a long-term process of learning to untangle that kind of history. And so you are already goddess and God incarnate. You are already the divine wisdom of all that is. This is already within you. And so as you consider that you are proceeding along an arc of evolutionary development, you may call it healing. You may call it making yourself whole. You may call it changing karma. You may use all these phrases and more. Getting over this, healing. A lot of you do talk quite a lot about healing. And from my perspective, there are all these little pebbles on the road, or the road surface itself is rough, with all these facets and features and divots and little sharp places. So yes, your whole life is a healing path, but your whole life is a path of a challenge to develop yourself as a conscious being, of course, to go from fear into love, bringing light to shadow, etc. So I want you to consider for a moment what kinds of things in your personality and attitudes and emotional life you may be dealing with now. And some of them may be loud and may take quite a lot of attention. These waves of feeling can at times take center stage and seem to take over, so that you perceive it is who you are. And I want you to consider what things in your life are up for you now that fit this. And I want you to decide that I'm willing to see that all of this is temporary. and a necessary part of the process. And I want you to decide, I am already the divine. I'm simply working through the cleanups in various aisles of my conscious and unconscious selves. Yes, a jar falls. A box of pasta falls and all of the little pieces fly everywhere. Yes, something is needing to be cleaned up in order for you to feel more clear. But yes, you are already the divine. And so I would like it for if you would consider when you hear or read the name Jihoody, again spelled Djehuty in English. I would like for you to consider that you are already the divine, that you are capable of carrying frequencies and understanding and ways of knowing that are beyond your human self and the perceived limitations of your human self. When you see and hear the name Jihoody, whether it is in this voice, through this channel, or elsewhere, whether you read it on the page in any context, I want you to take that as a reminder that you are already the divine, and you are on an arc of development toward learning how to own this in a more direct, active, grounded, real, practical way. And one of the results, or one of the benefits waiting for you, will be that your human self, better said, your egoic self, will not be the only one making decisions within you. And therefore, you will not feel alone. Because you will be able to carry more and higher levels of awareness, whether or not it seems that you are channeling or being a medium, someone speaking through you. This doesn't matter. But that sense of being connected to a higher level of truth beyond the perceived limitations and fears and doubts and shame and guilt that stem from your egoic self. You feel alone. You feel disconnected. You feel on your own when ego takes over. And so your ego is necessary, and yet I want you to realize you are more than your human self and its egoic dance to try to feel valid. You are already the divine. You are already valid. Thank you for your attention. It is our intention that these words may be of use to you in some way. Take care of yourself.